Peace and much love, Zin Uru here. Welcome to the latest installment of Message from the Minista. This week, we're going to be talking about faith in your purpose. What is faith? What is purpose? And how do we use faith? How do we ride that wave of faith to our purpose? I want to welcome y'all here. I like to point out every week that time and space are a fallacy. We know what they are. They're like these little political things that we've devised in the mind to give us a measuring stick. We measure time and space, we measure distance, and we measure the time that it gets from point A to point B or whatever that may be. But really, in the spirit, time and space are an illusion. And we are spiritual beings having this human experience here in this realm called Earth. So therefore, as spirit beings, it's always good to remind ourselves that for us, there is no such thing as time or space, and that we can use time and space to our advantage instead of having time and space use us to their advantage. I look all around the world and, I'll see a lot of folks, and as they get older, they actually get older. And then I look at hip-hoppers and I see a lot of us, as we so-called get older, we actually get younger. Our spirit feels younger. Our heart feels younger. We feel more vibrant than we even did 20, 30 years ago. I know I do. This year I'm going to be turning 48 years old, and I feel way more vibrant than even 10 years ago and 20 years ago when I was 28 and 38. But this is because I walk in faith, and I also know my purpose. And walking in one's faith and knowing one's purpose makes life that much more of a joy. And when we have joy in our heart, when we have a warm heart about our lives and the lives we are living, our blood circulates better. Our immune system works better. Our muscles work and respond quicker. Our mind is more clear and focused. Those things that cause a lot of people to age, like stress, worry, doubt, and fear. Those of us who have walked this path and have overcome the worry, the stress, the doubt, and the fear, and are walking in faith, we actually feel younger, because those are the type of things, that fear, that stress, that doubt, that fear, can actually weaken one's physical body, because it weakens one's spiritual energy first, one's chi. So this week, as we talk about faith towards our purpose, faith and our purpose, I want to remind us all too, let's have fun with spirituality. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, they made it like spirituality, like there's nothing fun about being spiritual or being spiritual minded or living a spiritual life or seeking the spirituality out of life. People have made it like, we see the monks, home, home, home. And, I'm not saying they ain't having fun. I don't know. I haven't lived that lifestyle. But when we see it on TV, we kind of think, oh man, that's kind of boring, What is the spiritual life? Or we think about the church, and I grew up in a very staunch church, so to speak, and even though it was in California, it was still kind of old school. It was an old school Baptist church, and spirituality was just this thing. It was always kind of a burden, always kind of a hardship. And not that it is, and not that that's what Jesus taught or what the Bible even teaches, but just somehow over the years it had developed into that. And so, going to church, it was like a chore. It was like something we had to work towards, and it just seemed like everybody had this burden and this something extra they were carrying with them. And when we are spiritual, we do have burdens, and we do carry this extra weight because, God didn't just put us here to live a life of fun and enjoyment. Because if you got heart the spiritual, if you're tuned in the spirit, you want to help other people. You see the suffering of others, and you want to help and lend a hand. And you experience your own suffering, because the only way to really grow spiritually is to get through all of those things that cause us suffering in the first place. But let's not forget the joy of spirituality. Let's not forget the fun that we can have in spirituality. As we talk tonight, I'm going to share a couple stories about my time on the road with the teacher and the Temple of Hip Hop. And You know, the stories are exciting when I remember them. I remember the excitement. I remember the faith that I had to walk in to experience those things. However, while it's happening, it can seem kind of dark. While it's happening, it can seem really stressful. While it's happening, there might be a lot of doubt. There might even be a lot of fear. But that's the fun of it. That's the adventure of it. It's called the unknown, you know, the adventure of the unknown, the great unknown. And our purpose, even when we know our purpose, it's still unknown, like how we get there, where we arrive at our purpose is a path that's unknown. Even if somebody has walked a similar path before us and we're modeling our purpose after their purpose and their path, we're not the same as one another. God has created us each in this individual manner where each perspective and each experience is unique in and of itself. That's why when we put a one after our name, O-N-E, we know we are the one. We are one. There is only one of us. There is only one of you. And although there are many of us, there's only one Zin Uru. And I'm telling you, when we embrace that uniqueness about ourselves, we embrace that God-given uniqueness about ourselves, and we start seeing that we're not that cookie-cutter version of the world, that the world's always trying to pack people into these like little boxes and say, okay, little box, you're a plumber. Okay, little box, you're a teacher. Okay, little box, you're a math teacher, you know? And then all of a sudden, these little boxes keep getting placed on people, and people get put in these little boxes, and they actually respond to that. Well, guess what? Hip-hop ain't about none of that. Hip-hop ain't about none of that. Hip-hop is the art of self-creation. Hip-hop is about freedom. Martin Luther King, I have a dream. Freedom, the bells of freedom ring. Freedom, there is freedom in our individual purpose. There is freedom found in faith. Because when we have faith, it's more, it is confidence, it is trust, it is a knowing, you know, but there is a relationship with faith, a relationship that we develop, a relationship with God, with our God. Faith is a language of God. Faith is how God strengthens us. And this week in the readings that I brought a book called 3 Magic Words by U.S. Anderson. And we're going to also be reading from the Gospel of Hip Hop written by our teacher, KRS-One. Specifically, these readings this week are going to be about faith. So when we get to those readings, we're going to see how involved God is in those readings. But I wanted to mention it here at the beginning because as I'm talking and sharing these stories, we will see God there because I saw God there in action. But I was also part of that action. I was also getting moved around by God, like the hand of God. You know, I would become the hand of God to do a certain work, or the voice of God to do a certain work, or just the peace of God to do a certain work in silence. Sometimes faith is expressed through our silence and our patiently waiting. So welcome y'all to Message from the Minista. I am Zin Uru, and let's get started. I wanted to grab my notes first because, you know, when I start talking, all of a sudden these new ideas, you know, I go and I make a lesson plan. But as I'm talking on camera here and I'm talking to all of you and I see you all in this room here with me, as I said last week, you know, there is no time and space, and therefore across all time and space, there you are, but you're here with me now. I see you, feel you here in spirit. So that actually affects your attention, your intention here affects what I'm going to speak about. And, you know, so my notes might shift a little bit. They change around a little bit. So I love that about this. I love that about knowing that our collective consciousness is in action right here and right now. Now, this week I wanted to talk about faith. F-A-I-T-H, faith. 5 letters. All right. I'll give you a couple acronyms. Acronyms. Where did that word come from, God? A couple acronyms from the acronologist G. Simone for faith. The first one is faith. For all it takes hope. Faith. And the second acronym is focus and ignore the haters. Now, when we for all it takes hope, the first acronym, and these are brilliant acronyms. The acronologist G. Simone has hundreds of acronyms just for the word faith. She wrote a whole book on it, the most amazing book. It's just such a fun little book. You just sit there and you can meditate on your faith through all these acronyms. But the two today to focus on when it comes to purpose is for all it takes hope. Never give up that hope. You know your purpose is coming. You may not see it, but don't give up the hope. When we're walking on the path, don't give up the hope. Never give up the hope. I know there's a lot of metaphysical circles out there, and there's a lot of new age thought and stuff, and I get it. They say, hope is kind of like, that you're kind of hoping that it happens, but you don't believe it's going to happen. And I say, yeah, that's word. That's a high level of mind right there. But I'll tell you something else. Hope, I've been in the dirt. I have been down low on my knees. And it wasn't about doubt or fear. It was just about hope. I know it's going to get better, God. I hope this gets better tomorrow. And it always did. It always did. So for all it takes hope, that is faith. And the other one, the other brilliant acronym from G. Simone is focus and ignore the haters. Faith. Focus and ignore the haters. When we're talking about faith and your purpose, we're talking about the need to focus and ignore the haters, because they are there to strengthen us. As we learned last week, when the haters come to us, they're there to strengthen us. Don't let them shift you and push you back and push you down and give up hope or give up faith in your purpose. Focus and ignore the haters. That spells faith. The haters are going to come, and they're going to come from the people that you least expect it to. They're going to come from family members. They're going to come from friends. They're going to come from strangers. And they're going to come sometimes even when you least expect it, from the people you least expect it from. So always be ready. I remember for a while after I had started my apprenticeship and there wasn't a tour going on and I had some things to attend to my family, I had to go back into the landscaping business. I had to go back into the job, the job market. And I had a lot of skills and I had a lot of experience, but I didn't want to go back in as a supervisor or as a technician. I just wanted to go back in and cut edges and mow lawns, but they saw my resume, and so they wanted to put me into this position of as a supervisor, which is a good job for anybody. I mean, But so I sat there and I was like, I told them I was getting interviewed by like 4 people. It was really weird, because I just wanted the job mowing lawns. I thought it was going to be quick and easy. I just need to get a little extra money up. And so I'm sitting there, and so these 4 guys are talking to me like, well, it says here in your resume you did this, this, and this. I was like, yeah, but that's not my purpose. I told them that at the job. In fact, I'd already learned at that time that when you go to a job interview, this is a side note, but when you go to a job interview, you're not the one getting interviewed. You're interviewing them if you want the job. You go in with that mindset. You walk in with your chest up. You walk in with confidence and speaking your voice from within. And you don't have to go in there and say, I'm here to interview y'all, unless you want to do that and you get the Spirit urges you to do that. But when you go in, when you feel that way, when you feel a certain way, when you're going into a job interview and you're like, they're not interviewing me, I'm interviewing them. It shifts the dynamics, at least for you, and it will shift the dynamics for them as well. They will respect you more because you're not there needing a job. You're there looking at a job to see if it's going to be able to be one that fits your lifestyle. So anyway, so at this job, so I'm sitting there with that in mind. I'm interviewing them. I said, I found my purpose in life. And they're like, word? What is your purpose? And this is around 2009, late 2009. So I'd only been rapping for a couple of years. I've been on the road for 4 years. I've been rhyming for 2 or 3 years. So I put my time in, but I was still learning. I was still in the learning process. I hadn't mastered my craft yet. And so the guys started saying, well, what do you mean you found your purpose? Like you don't want the job? I said, well, I need a job right now. But I found my purpose in life, and so anytime my purpose comes calling, I have to put my purpose before this job. And I thought, well, they ain't gonna give me a job after this. They're gonna hire me after saying that. And then the one guy said, well, that's incredible. What is your purpose? And I said, well, my purpose is hip hop, the living and preserving of hip hop. I've worked and traveled and toured with the teacher, KRS-One, and they hadn't heard of him. These were some older dudes, you know, and they were like, really? Word? Wow, okay. And so they started questioning me about hip hop. And so we got into this talk, a good 10, 15-minute talk about hip hop and what it means. And so in that process, they found out that I'm an MC. I mentioned I was an MC and that I'm working on my album. And I said, you know, I'm not saying that I'm going to stay at home recording and not come to the job, but I will if when opportunity comes up, if I've got to fly somewhere or tour pops back up, I got to go. I got to bounce. So I'm not trying to get a job where you guys is dependent on me week in and week out. So one of the guys says, he goes, you know, well, there's a book called Outliers, and I forgot the name of the book, but I'll put a picture of it up here. Outliers, and it's an interesting book about 10,000 hours. You know, Macklemore has the song 10,000 hours, but it's about the idea is that before you become a master at anything, you got to put 10,000 hours into it. You know, so your purpose, you got to put 10,000 hours into your purpose to master this. And so the guy's telling me about the concept of this book, and I hadn't heard about it yet. And he's like, you know, so the chances of you making it are like slim to none. Dude, you're in your 40s. Have you put 10,000 hours into rhyming? Have you put 10,000 hours into hip hop? And so they were trying to discourage me right then and there. Focus and ignore the haters. Now, they weren't hating on me, but to me, I took it as that. You know, I'm like, yo, they're hating on my purpose right now. They don't have faith in me. At least they don't have faith in me, but I got faith in myself and I got faith in my God. They don't have to see it. So, speed the story up. I told them that. They talked about it. They said, well, listen, we need a supervisor right now. The other guy's gone. And if you could even do this throughout the summer, that would be great. And we'll work something into it. And so I said, all right, word. And so I took the job. I got a better paying job than I expected. I said all the wrong things you don't want to say at an interview. And I ended up working at that job for about a good 4 or 5 months, actually 6 months, until the next tour popped up and the purpose came back in. And there it was. And I went into the offices, and when I was quitting, well, I was quitting for a couple reasons. First off, my heart wasn't back in that job, and my heart was saying, yo, you got to get back out on the road. You got an opportunity right now. You need to leave this job. So I had to walk in faith again, you know, because this is faith in my purpose. I have faith in my purpose. I've had faith in my purpose for real. I hope you got faith in your purpose too, because if you don't have faith in your purpose, you might as well try driving a car, a combustion engine car without gasoline in it. That's how important faith is. That's how important faith is. So I quit that job. You know, I said, peace out. And when I quit, I told them I didn't like the way they was treating the Mexicans there because, you know, it was a white-owned company. And so I had to say something about that. I said that they were treating the Mexican dudes there like they were second-class citizens and that they were kind of beneath, and that these dudes they was doing more work than everybody else while these other dudes are sitting in their air-conditioned offices making these decisions that affect people's lives and their families' lives. So I had to say something about that when I was quitting. But I also had to say, yo, and remember at the beginning when I told you that my purpose was, I had to put my purpose before my job. And so the dude said, yeah, I remember you saying that. I said, well, that time is here. It's right now. I got to go because my purpose is calling. And he's like, yo, but you're leaving us in a bind. I said, I'm not leaving you in a bind because I told you that my purpose was going to come before the job. And when my purpose called, he's like, yeah, but you've been such a good worker. You've been showing up on time. We really need you. And I was like, yeah, but I need my purpose. And dude didn't see it. He got mad. He got angry. And I knew it was just because he hadn't been living his life purpose. He wasn't living his life purpose. I could even look around his office and see that his interests, the books that he had on his shelves, the pictures that he had on his wall, he had another purpose in life that didn't involve the bookkeeping of the company he was in. I kind of felt bad for the dude, for real. It was a good paying job. He had a nice home, great family. But he was just a couple years older than me, and he looked like he was 10, 15 years older than me. He was wore out. And I say this because you're going to see that a lot in life. And those are the people, they're not, like, you can't judge them. You can't get mad at somebody. You know, even the haters, focus and ignore the haters. When the haters come at you to try and put a stop in your purpose, you can't get mad and become a hater too, or they've won. You can't. You got to look past it. They got to become invisible. You got to see through them. You got to push them out of the way, literally, physically sometimes. Other times it's spiritually and mentally, psychically. You just got to focus and ignore the haters. Ignore them. Ignore the haters. So as we're walking on this path of faith for our purpose, never think and never be under the illusion that it's going to be easy. The other ones I wanted to talk about here for faith, I came up with 5 words in order. It's like an acronym, my own acronym for faith. Focus, affirmation, intuition, trust, and heart. I'm going to say those again. Focus, affirmation, intuition, trust, and heart. We're going to talk about those 5. First of all, focus. Well, we kind of just went over focus. Focus is when things are coming at you and you're walking in your faith towards your purpose or living your purpose, walking in that faith. It takes focus so you don't lose focus of the goal. Focus on the goal. Everything else is a distraction. Everything else can become a distraction. Some of those distractions are legitimate distractions, and you've got to just say, right now I got to focus on this and I'll deal with this later. Sometimes you just got to say, that distraction is completely illegitimate. I do not need it in my life. Let me push that distraction away. But the focus, the mental focus, the heart focus, the energetic focus on achieving your purpose is first and foremost. It reminds me of a story, actually. I was going to tell this story later on, but I was going to bring this story up right now about faith and how things can happen immediately. You know, because faith, you never know with faith. Sometimes faith, it takes a long time to get to the goal of the purpose. And other times, it happens immediately. And sometimes we just need it to happen immediately. Because we're in a situation that requires for God to be immediately helpful in our lives. And so we have to have that faith and be like, yo, God, I'm in a situation right now and I need your help. So back in 2005, our first tour, the Gospel of Hip Hop tour with the Temple of Hip Hop, we were on tour, and I was driving with the homie Crane. Shout out to Crane, big up homie. We had a great time. We were driving in this van, and so it was him and S5 who got this van for their crew. KDL and Amber Rose, they all had this van. They were like a music group. They were, MCs, a DJ, and a singer, and they were out opening up for the teacher while we were on tour. And so they had got this van. They had walked in their faith, and their faith had brought them to this van. And so in the back of the van, it was like a cargo van, so everything was pulled out, and there was a couch, a big comfy couch in the back. And so Crane was driving, and I jumped back, and I was laying on that couch sleeping. And so we had just learned a lesson that everything we need is in our immediate environment. The teacher just taught us, like, gentlemen, ladies, when you're out on the road, everything you need is in your immediate environment. If, it's right there, you got to walk it such a way. And he used Magneto walking, like where Magneto and the X-Men, there's an X-Men movie, I think it's the first or second one, I'm not sure. But Magneto's walking. And these magnetic plates, he's walking in the air, and these plates are floating up. And every time he steps down, that plate meets his foot. And so while he's walking in faith because he knows his abilities. He's sitting there walking along knowing that metal plate is going to be under each foot. It's the same way we walk. That's the same way we are focused. He's focused. Magneto was focused right straight ahead and walking. He wasn't looking down to make sure the steps were there. He knew they were going to be there. So the teacher used that as an analogy. While we're out on the road, you never know what's going to happen. It can snow, it can rain, the car could break down, just a number of things. For something gets left behind, something important gets left behind. The mixer breaks immediately right when the show's about to start. There's all kind of little things that can go wrong when touring the world, as you can imagine, and being at a show. And so to walk in that kind of faith means that we don't sit there and get desperate, and we don't get in fear, and we don't get into all those other things. We actually say, you know what, the mixer broke. So where's the other mixer? Where's the answer to this? Where's the person who's going to fix the mixer? Can I fix the mixer real quick? There's all these other options when the mind isn't clouded by fear and the mind is focused, that all these other options can come into being. So Crane and I, Crane's driving, and we've got a show that night. And I want to say it was in Texas. I believe this was in Texas, long roads in Texas. We're out driving for hours and hours and hours. And I'm sleeping in the back. And I just get this, I wake up and I kind of hear this voice that says, look at the gas gauge. And I look at the gas gauge. I say, Crane. He's like, yo, I'm in the zone. I was like, Crane, we're almost out of gas. And he goes, oh, no, I think we're good. We'll make it to the next station. And literally after we said that, literally after we noticed we was out of gas, we ran out of gas right there on the freeway. Right there. Car's dead on the freeway. Turn the engine, nothing. So we used that as a moment because we had just learned the lesson from the teacher about Magneto walking on those on the metal foot pads that was coming up to his feet. We just learned that lesson. And so we put that lesson to use, and there was two of us on it now instead of one. I said, yo, let's use that lesson from the teacher, Crane. He's like, word, let's go. And as soon as we said that, I mean, we literally pulled over. It was instant. We pulled over. A highway worker truck sees us, goes past us, turns around. We watch him turn around as we're saying this, knowing that we're walking in our faith. Watch him turn around on the median, come back, pull up behind us, say, yo, what can I do for you? We said, we're out of gas. We ran out of gas. He pulls out 5-gallon brand new thing of gas, fills up our car for us, wouldn't take no money. Nothing. We said, hey, well, let's follow you to the gas station. We'll fill the gas up. He's like, no, I believe in doing good deeds for people, and this is my good deed for you. And it was instant. That faith was instant, but we were focused on our purpose. We were focused on the solution. We were focused on God. We knew that God was going to be there with us and that what we needed was going to be in our immediate environment, and there it was. Instantly. Just like that. Literally, hey, we're about to run out of gas. No, we're going to be good. Boom, we run out of gas. We're on the side of the road. Yo, let's put into action the lesson we just learned a couple days ago from the teacher. All right, let's walk in our faith. Let's just say we already know that the answer is immediately in our environment. Highway construction worker goes by. He's got little flashing lights. That's how legit this dude is. Turns around. Drives over the grassy thing there, turns around on the freeway, comes back around in the loop to us, fills our car up with gas. We weren't even there for 10 minutes before we were back on the road after running out of gas. This wasn't a busy interstate. There was cars on it, but it wasn't a busy interstate. But that's how fast it happened. That's how instantly it happened, immediately. It doesn't always happen like that because God's timing is not our timing. Sometimes our limited human intellect thinks that, oh, well, it should take this long, like, that 10,000 hours. And actually, I went back and did the math, and I'd already put 10,000 hours into hip-hop in the first 4 years. Do the math yourself. You'll see how quick it works. Or 6 years at that time. Do the math in your head. Start counting out what 10,000 hours is. But that's the way of the world. That's the little box they want to fit us in. It takes 10,000 hours to accomplish. And I'm not saying that. It's good. There's a lot of research went into the book. I ain't just in the book. It's a good read. But it's also that God, what is 10,000 hours to God? You might as well be saying to God, blah, 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 Because that's what it sounds like to God. What is 10,000 hours to God? If 10,000 years is as a day, as the Bible says. What is 10,000 hours? A microsecond, a nanosecond? Doesn't even exist. See, sometimes it takes years to get there. Sometimes it's instant. Sometimes it's both happening simultaneously, which is really what's happening. We had a purpose to get to that show that night. Crane's an MC. He was going up to rap that night. I had to make sure the hotel's checked out. I had the cash in my pocket to pay for the hotel rooms. We had to get there before the rest of the crew got there. We didn't have time to live in despair and start feeling bad for ourselves and start blaming how'd the gas run out. Fuck this and oh yeah, man, and all of that is a waste of time. Instantly clear the mind, focus the mind. Focus. That's the F of faith. Focus. The A, affirmation. We talked about this briefly last week, but affirmation, make a simple affirmation. Everything I already need is already in my environment. That's a perfect affirmation. I'm so grateful that everything I ever need is already in my environment. I am so happy and grateful that everything I need is already in my environment. That's an affirmation. Make a simple affirmation. The brain works quicker that way. We affirmed. We actually had a visualization, that magneto visualization of him walking and stepping on those plates. That's a perfect affirmation because it cuts the mind's time down and the mind already realizes that it doesn't need anything else but to just be alert of where the answer is in the environment, and then it appears automatically. That's the affirmation. Focus, affirmation, intuition. Focus, affirmation, intuition. Wow, Zin, that's a big one, intuition. Do I even know most people don't even believe if they have intuition. Well, hopefully if you've got this book right here, you've already read about the seventh sense and a sense that is even beyond intuition. You know, intuition is like the sixth sense. We know we have at least we already know of 7 or 8 already. But intuition is real. If you haven't studied intuition, I suggest you go do it. We know intuition is real. I would probably say everybody watching this video already knows what intuition is and has experienced real intuition. It's that still small voice in the head. It's that feeling that you get that, oh, I should be doing this. And when we don't listen to our intuition, you know, we walk by and we see like an umbrella. And we say to ourselves, I should grab that umbrella. And we don't grab it, and then we're out driving around, and and then it's raining. And we're like, something told me I should have grabbed the umbrella. That was the intuition telling you, grab the umbrella. And we didn't listen, so we learned the lesson. Next time we see the umbrella, we grab the umbrella. That's how intuition works. But when it comes to faith, the reason that we need intuition is because we've got to hear. We've got to hear God's voice when it comes to our purpose. Because the world's going to be distracting us. The world's going to be saying, this is how you get to this. This is how you get to your purpose. This is how so-and-so did it. This is how so-and-so did it. That's good. You need to know that, but God maybe have a different path for you. I know God had a different path for me. And so when I was walking that path, I had to use my intuition. I had to think. I had to feel my way through it. You know, we'd be at a club or something, and whatever situation comes up that night, you know, teacher doesn't have any towels to, you know, and he got to dry himself off, you know, while the hand towels that when he's up on stage, you see him dry off all the sweat. And so you got to use your intuition to like, oh shit, we didn't grab the towels. We got to go get him some towels. You got to use that intuition. Where are the towels? Because you got to think on the spot. You got to have a clear intuition to go back because there's all these other places and it's dark at the club and you got to go get them towels quick. So you just got to go find them. You got to feel your way to them. This is something that it develops over time. It's like a muscle. It's like a new movement that you have when you start using your intuition. But when it comes to faith, your intuition to know, do I go right or do I go left? Feel your way. I know I need to go right. Do I need to be with this person or this person? Follow that intuition. Because when you put faith first, when you put purpose first, when you put God first, that intuition is going to be in alignment with those things that you have. But like I said, there's going to be those other distractions to strengthen you and make sure that you're really on that right path. Intuition, focus, affirmation, intuition, trust. That's a simple one. Do I trust myself? Do I trust God? It takes a lot of trust when we walk in faith. You got to trust your abilities. And if you don't trust your abilities, you're going to have a hard time getting those abilities out and about. If I didn't trust my ability to jump behind this camera, look at my notes, and deliver a message from my experience, if I didn't trust that, my videos would be whack and corny, not fresh and dope like they already are. And that goes for anybody. That don't make me unique. There are so many people who are so dope at so many things. They trust themselves. You know, it's like a graffiti artist, and you see them, and there's a blank wall there, and there's people watching, and this wall, so like this wall is at a youth center. And that graffiti artist got the can, knowing he's not messing up the wall, knowing he's making the wall into a beautiful piece of art. He trusts himself. He trusts his abilities. You got to develop trust in yourself when you're walking in faith and you're walking on that path towards your purpose. You got to trust yourself, and you got to trust in your abilities. If you got to drive for 14 hours, you got to trust that you're going to make that drive. Because when you doubt's like a lead weight. Doubt is like a wet blanket. Doubt is like a flat tire on a car. You ain't getting very far with it. Holds you back. It weighs you down. Trust is like brand new tires full of air, just rolling right along. That's trust. Do you trust yourself? Do you trust God? Do you trust your purpose? Do you trust your heart? Do you trust your soul? Do you trust your knowledge? Do you trust your abilities? Focus, affirmation, intuition, trust. And the very last one, heart. It takes heart. It takes heart. You got to have some heart about it. Because when the storms of life hit you, bap, 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 you're trying to get to where you need to go, bap, 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 you ain't going nowhere. No, you got to have heart. You got to fight back. Boom, 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 bap. You know, you got to be able to fight back. That takes heart. It takes heart to fight back against all of that. When you got to say, yo, I'm an MC. Be able to grab that mic and, yo, I'm the dopest MC that ever walked the streets. Yo, you know me, my name starts with Z, I'm Z-I-N. You are you, and I'm freestyling right to you. I see the camera, I got the stamina. I hit hard like Thor's hammer. You know, when you got that kind of faith, when you got some heart in you, people feel that heart. Everybody who's ever inspired me, I know they got heart. Where's your heart at? Is your heart in it? If your heart ain't in it, you ain't going to be in it for very long. Unless you just give up. Like homeboy, you know, when I was telling him I got to go live my purpose when I was quitting that landscaping job. Dude had no heart, and I felt my heart felt for his heart. I was hoping like boom, 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 hoping my pounding heart that's excited about my purpose and about my energy kind of wakes up something in him. Wakes up his heart too. Focus, affirmation, intuition, trust, heart. Those are 5 key components to faith. You got to have all of those when you walk upon this path. It's not easy, but when you got them, the world opens up for you. Really, the earth opens up for you. The world is like the brain. The earth is like the mind. Get out of the world thinking. Get back into the earth thinking. Faith, heart, you know. The earth is our purpose because we're here to serve on earth. You know, that's our purpose. Our purpose is also God's purpose for us. Our purpose is the universe's purpose for us. It's our reason for being. It's life's purpose for us is our purpose. And when we get in alignment with that, we walk in a certain way. We have a certain empowerment. There's a certain glow on us. And I know I'm talking to people who are on so many different arenas of life. I want to talk to each and every one of you. Those of you who inspire me to keep going on my purpose. Those of you, God willing, I can inspire to come on, pick your purpose back up, move towards your purpose. You might have missed something along the way. Maybe something I'm saying, maybe something I'm speaking right now is just reminding you of how easy it is. It only seems difficult if you make it difficult. But difficult times are fun. Me and Crane, every time we see each other, we laugh about that story. Hey, remember back in 2005 when? It's fun. There's joy there. There was joy in that spiritual lesson. That's how it works. Have fun with this. Be in joy with your purpose. Enjoy your purpose. And be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. And really that kind of goes back to heart. Because if your heart ain't in it, you ain't going to win it. Be honest with yourself. That's why I love watching Steph Curry play. You ever watch Steph Curry play? I grew up a Warriors fan. They were the worst team in all of the NBA my whole life. Until Steph came along. I mean, they had a couple years there, Run TMC that was dope, and then they had the We Believe Warriors. We had some good times, but not championships. We didn't have no championships. And then Steph Curry comes along, and there's a heart there. When you watch Steph Curry play, there is joy there. That's why his teammates get better around him. That's why the fans are excited. That's why he's electrifying to watch, because there's a joy there with what he does. His purpose is basketball for now. And he brings a lot of joy to a lot of people. You see that fun, you see that heart there. Be honest with yourself. He's honest with himself. He knew from a young age that he's going to be a basketball player, an NBA star. And all the haters and everybody told him, no, Steph, you can't do it. You're too small. You don't shoot the right way. You ain't big enough. Now you watch him. He shoots like nobody else, but he's changed the way the game is played. He had faith in himself. He had a heart. He has focus, intuition. You watch him play, there's intuition going on right there. Affirmation. I could just imagine the affirmations he was telling himself as he was affirming himself as he was making it into one of the greatest players who ever played the game. But be honest with yourself. If your heart ain't in it, you ain't going to win it. If your heart ain't in it, you ain't going to win it. Get your heart back in it. Because sometimes people get disheartened on the path. I've been there. I got disheartened on the path. I didn't feel I was worthy. I felt I was too weak. I felt I was never going to make it. Then I reminded myself, God reminded me, God put that fire back in my heart. God started stoking that fire up again. Be honest with yourself, though. When you're honest with yourself and you say you ain't faking it, that fake it till you make it, that's loosely and okay. I get it, but don't fake it till you make it. Make it till you make it. Create it till you make it. Make it till you create it. There's better ways of looking at it than being fake about it. Be honest with yourself. Where are you at? Where is your heart at? Where is your soul at? Where is your prayer at? Where is your life at? Where is your purpose at? Where is your faith? The Bible says faith without works is dead. And I would say too, we say this at the Temple of Hip Hop, faith without works is dead, and work without faith is dead. Where's your heart at? Be honest with yourself. Are you really in it to win it? Let yourself know. God is great. God is with us everywhere. God is walking with you right now. What have you got to fear? What have you got to doubt? And I know, I've been there. Family left. Wife took my kids that were the biggest part of my life, bounced. I had to have faith. I had to have faith each morning I woke up and had to learn to live a life where my kids weren't waking me up every morning, which I loved. Not seeing my kids in my life day to day for years. Now it's just gone. That love, those hugs, the joy, gone. Not in my life every day. Not in my life anymore. Oh man, you talk about bam, bam, bam. That was like life, just boom, boom, giving me the stomp. I had to fight back. I said, all right, life, let's go. Boom, 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 boom. Bop, 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 bop. I had to go back hard at life. Not that I'm fighting with life or life's fighting me. But it felt like it then. I had to fight back, and life was like, all right, you got something in you now, Zin. You got some heart, you got some fire. Wake up, young man. God is real. So I know, I'm not sitting here saying, like I think sometimes people look, and when I'm talking to them, they think, yeah, but you've been on tour with the teacher, KRS-One. My life changed so much, and I can't express how dark my life got on the path to my purpose. I needed to give up. I thought I was going to die. I was in pain, I was in suffering, I was in darkness, but I was also in joy. In my darkest time, I'm laughing, I'm crying and laughing at the same time. Like, how is this even possible, God? God said, this is the fruit of faith, Zin. You're walking in faith. You get to learn about yourself right now. You get to learn about your purpose. You get to learn a depth about yourself that you can't read about in a book, that you can't hear from a pastor. You can't go study this. You got to learn this on your own. So wherever you're at in life, be honest with yourself. Where are you at? Who are you right now? Don't puff up your feathers to yourself and in front of God and pretend to be something you're not. In front of God, God sees through all of that. And if you're fake with God, you're being fake with yourself. Don't be fake with yourself. Don't fake yourself through it. Come on. You're better than that. That's the way to rise up. That's the way to stoke that soul fire, that purifier that goes through the body and cleanses the body and gets one's focused on one's purpose. And that faith and that focus on one's purpose brings that purpose into outer being. You start making the right decisions in your life. And you may make the wrong decisions, but if you're focused and you make the wrong decisions, they're going to correct themselves. And you're going to get that wisdom from the wrong decision and realize it wasn't a wrong decision. It was just a learning experience at that point. Rise up, my nobility. Rise up into your purpose. What is your purpose, Hip Papa? And where is your faith? All right, let's take a moment. Let's take a moment and let's get into some reading tonight. I want to offer some insights from the teacher first, and then we're going to close. I got 2 books to read from tonight. I'll tell you a little bit more about the second one. The first book, of course, we're going to read from is The Gospel of Hip Hop, written by our teacher, KRS-One. And as I like to just mention for those who are new, I'm actually recognized in the book. I'm actually written in the book here as a recognized intellectual and spiritual contributor to the Gospel of Hip Hop. That was focus. That was focused on my purpose. My purpose was to see this book put into existence, to go from being on the teacher's computer to a Kinko's copy to really seeing this. And there's a lot of us. I'm not the only one, but it took quite a few of us to focus and have our faith to get this book out in the real world. I mean, out in the material world where you can go buy a copy of it, get in your hands. That's faith. This is faith in action right here. And the second book is 3 Magic Words by U.S. Anderson. Got a brilliant piece about faith in God in here that I'm looking forward to sharing and reading that. But and it's so amazing. Once again, both these books are saying the exact same thing almost. But this one's speaking to the hip hopper, and this one I'm going to use to speak to the hip hopper with. All right, excuse me. So in the Divine Performance, if you have a copy of the Gospel of Hip Hop homework every week, that's your homework this week, is to read Perform Faith.
Divine Performance number 9. It's on page 170 here in the Gospel of Hip Hop. I'm going to read the first 4 or 5 paragraphs. I want you to take the time, meditate, read the rest of the paragraphs yourselves. But I just want to read this part because this kind of gets into the talk, and this will be a nice piece to add into this, you know. Perform faith. Demonstrate your faith. Do not live exclusively by your natural reasoning or believe exclusively what your senses tell you. Live by faith. Faith is not just a belief in unseen things. It is an unconditional confirmation of the finished work. Let's take a moment right there. That's awesome, man. I should have mentioned that earlier. But that is faith. See the finished work. If you got an album to make, see the finished album and see nothing else but see that finished album. Hold that vision of that finished album. Don't hold on to anything else but the vision of that finished album. And all these other things that we've talked about will come your way, but you hold that vision, it's going to come into your reality. You hold that vision. We held the vision of this book being in your hands, and there it is, for real. Paragraph 1. Faith is not just a belief in unseen things. It is an unconditional confirmation of the finished work. It is a knowing or expectancy that comes from living a spiritual and virtuous life. Faith is not an invisible thing. It is a very visible thing. It has physical effects. In fact, faith is the invisible substance of visible things. Let me read that line again. In fact, faith is the invisible substance of visible things. Faith is simply what you perceive as real. Is God real to you? Are God's abilities real to you? Whether you believe your God can actually do, whatever you believe your God can actually do, shall be done. Because of unrighteous and non-spiritual living, if you do not truly perceive your spirit abilities and the strength of your God, then it is your own doubt that weakens the supernatural abilities of your own spirit over the material world. Live a virtuous life, and every month do something or say something that requires faith. Practice faith. Expect results. Man, that's really what I wanted. I want to comment on this right here. I was going to read the next 2 paragraphs, but you know what? That's the homework. And that's for those who have the Gospel of Hip Hop. You need to get this book and study it and put it to use. This right here, though, faith is not an invisible thing. It is a very visible thing. It has physical effects. That's this book. This is the physical effect of faith. Faith is not invisible. It is very visible. As you can see, I'm holding my faith right here in my hand. The faith that this book will come out and be in your hand and be in the public's hands. I used to visualize myself handing this book out off of the stage. I used to visualize myself selling this book. I used to visualize myself reading and teaching from this book. Faith isn't invisible. Faith is very visible. In fact, faith is the invisible substance of visible things. The invisible substance of this is faith. Whew. Is God, faith is simply what you perceive as real. Is God real to you? Are God's abilities real to you? That's faith. Are God's abilities real to you? Whatever you believe your God can actually do shall be done. Crane and I, we simply believe that God could bring us gas instantly, and God brought us gasoline instantly. Because of unrighteous and non-spiritual living, if you do not truly perceive your spirit abilities and the strength of your God, then it is your own doubt that weakens the supernatural abilities of your own spirit over the material world.
Wow. Unrighteous living, not living a virtuous life. You know when you are and you know when you're not. You know what you're supposed to be doing. We know when we're doing something we're supposed to be doing, and we know when we're doing something we're not supposed to be doing. And we got to quit playing that game with ourselves. Is this the right thing to do? Should I do this when we know it's wrong? Is this the right thing to do? Am I doing it right when you know it's wrong? I've been there, done that, waste of time, waste of energy, waste of life. Then it is your own doubt that weakens the supernatural abilities of your own spirit over the material world. Live a virtuous life, and every month do something or say something that requires faith. Practice faith, expect results. That is so key. You got to expect that result. You got to expect that the gasoline is showing up when you run out of gas. And to take it a little deeper, if the gasoline doesn't show up, is your faith in God that you need to be there out of gas on the side of the road at that moment for a reason? What seems like setbacks in life can be actually exactly what we need at that moment. When it seems we're having to wait or something unfair happens to us, that ends up being a time of strengthening. We may have an insight. Something else may come along that's more important to us than getting that gasoline at that moment. It just happened that it was very important for Crane and I to get that gasoline right when we needed it, so God brought it to us. I had another time when I ran out of gas and I needed to sit there and wait for a couple hours. It was just another time in my life that I was in a place and a space that I needed to wait. Perform patience with faith. Perform patience when you're performing faith, perform patience. But being patient means sometimes they can happen instantly and sometimes you got to wait. Either way, it's God's timing, and God is real. In closing, as we read from 3 Magic Words by U.S. Anderson, I'll tell you, U.S. Anderson was a football player. Played for the NFL back in, let's say, the late 40s, early 50s. But throughout maybe like the late 30s, early 40s, played in the NFL, was an athlete, shot putter. I think he tried out for the Olympics. But he read Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, another book that we'll be reading here and quoting from. Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. He was a student of that book, and then in the 50s and 60s, he went around and gave lectures and he spoke. And this book, 3 Magic Words, is based on some of his lectures put together. And one of the greatest metaphysical books I've ever read, one of the deepest. So many insights from this book. And shout out to Donis for giving me a copy of this book many years ago. I had actually given it away to somebody else, that copy, and got a new copy last week. And because I knew that this was a book that I was going to be, I wanted for my collection anyways, but I wanted to share some of this with y'all here. And it's called Power Through Union. And I'm going to just read this and I'll stop and do the commentary. But really take this to heart, because the power through union is the union with God. And this is in a chapter actually called Faith that he's written in this book, talking about faith. You know, we just talked about the very first paragraph in the Gospel of Hip Hop during Perform Faith is God walking with us. That is the faith in God. Power through union. Note by U.S. Anderson. No man can consistently exercise faith in all aspects of his life without the secure knowledge that God is with him every minute of every day. Unless you are willing to give up your problems and turn them over to God, you will find that you are making very poor solutions of them indeed. For you will feel your own inadequacy at every turn in the road, and will shortly be projecting more failure than success
into the subconscious mind. Make your mind up right now that there isn't the slightest use trying to do anything by yourself. You just aren't big enough, and that is the plain truth of the matter. The millions of facts and circumstances beyond your ken and scope make of you a microbe on the face of the earth the moment you isolate yourself from the subconscious mind and say, I, all by myself, will do this thing. The first very apparent thing you will discover is that you don't know enough. The second is that you have to find yourself facing gigantic forces over which you have no control and against which you have no weapon. Defeat in every undertaking is then certain, and the only end is to be reduced to a groveling, whining, complaining, fear-ridden speck. But join forces with the subconscious mind. I'll say this is the unconscious mind too. We'll get to that in the future. But what U.S. Anderson is talking about, when he's talking about the subconscious mind here, he's talking about the totality of all that is God's mind. He actually goes over earlier in the book, or maybe it's a little bit later in the book, he goes over that there aren't just many minds. We all share the same mind. That's why things like intuition work. That's why what we call extrasensory perception, that's why it works, because there's not just, I don't have one mind and you have a different mind. We have different perspectives from the same universal mind. That's what he's talking about. When he says the subconscious mind, he's talking about the universal mind of God. But join forth, and he's saying right here, it's very apparent that you'll discover if you try and go in it alone, you're going to go against, when we go into something alone without God, we're going up against forces that will squash us and destroy us, that we can't see, that we can't fathom. But when God is there with us, God sees it all, God knows it all. And so from our limited perspective, our limited understanding, our limited side at that moment, we're actually at one with the universal side of God, with the all-knowing, omnipotent side of God, all-seeing, omnipresent vision of God. And when we walk in that faith, that sight that God sees all, we don't have to see all. That's where the adventure is. That's where the fun is. That's what makes every great movie. The hero's quest. But join forces with the subconscious mind, and the entire universe speeds to answer your every need. Not without cause did Jesus refer to the subconscious mind as the Father, the Fatherer, the furtherer. Father means to take you further, farther. Not without cause did Jesus refer to the subconscious mind as the Father who dwelleth within me. For indeed, and dwells within us. That universal subconscious mind that sees all is within us. That's what's urging us forward. That's what's pushing us forward. For indeed, this wise and omnipotent Father knows of your every need before you voice it, and may effect an instantaneous manifestation in your life of whatever it is you are convinced of. That was the gas. Instantly, God saw that we were going to need that gas before we saw it. God knew we were going to need that gas before we knew we were going to need it. God knew we were going to run out of gas before we knew we were going to run out of gas. And God instantly had the answer for us, instantly. The subconscious mind contains the knowledge of all ways and means and times. And you may rest your problem there with the surety that it will be answered with perfection. Do not keep examining the pot to see if the water is boiling. You don't have to double check God. Don't make up your mind that your path should lead in a certain direction and then be disturbed because you find it is leading elsewhere. I'm going to read that sentence again. You don't have to double check God. Don't make up your mind that your path should lead to us in a certain direction and then be disturbed because you find it leading elsewhere. Know that your every step is unerringly guided on a perfect route to your destination. Whatever you consider to be a side road is not a side road at all, but the best of all possible paths. Hold fast and faithfully to your conviction. Hold fast and faithfully to your conviction. Hold that in your mind. Hold that vision in your heart. God sees it all. You're walking with God. We are walking with God. We're walking to the promised land with God. We don't know exactly where the land is going to be. We don't know how the buildings are going to look. God does. We don't even know who's all going to be there. God does. We don't know what obstacles we're going to face on the way to Hippopia. God does. And God will prepare us for those obstacles when we're in alignment with God. God will take us farther, the farther. God is everywhere. God is omnipotent. God is omnipotent. God is all-seeing, all-knowing, all-being, all-loving, all-caring, all-nurturing, all-protecting. Only a fool leans upon his own misunderstandings. But the wise and the prudent lean on God. Don't be the fool. When you doubt and you fear, be still. We learned this last week. When temptation arrives, be still and do nothing and allow the tempting moment to pass. Get to know your God. Get to be with your God. Get in tune with God. That's what the Christ within is. Have faith in your God. Have faith in your people. Have faith in yourself. But don't be a fool. And when things don't work out the way that you think they're supposed to be working out, perform patience, perform listening, perform study. Be still. Say, wow, I thought I was going in that direction, and then all of a sudden life circumstances pushed me in this direction, and now I'm over here where I didn't expect to be, and I thought I was supposed to be over there, but guess what? Well, what I thought was over there is actually over here, and I end up being exactly where I need to be, exactly when I need to be there. Grow where you're planted. That's the message for next week, is grow where you're planted. I've noticed something this week, that as each of these lessons build on each other, it's just different perspectives of the same thing, God. God did not abandon us. God has not abandoned us. As a matter of fact, God is rescuing us right here, right now, at this very moment. Let's wake up to God. Let's wake up to the faith that God is showing in us right now, hip-hop. I'm not dissing the world. I'm not dissing science. I get it. Science can do some wonderful things. The world has some really cool and dope things too to be a part of. I love driving my whip. It's just a joy I have. I don't know that in any other manifestation throughout all of eternity that I'm going to have a lifetime where I get to drive a whip, a manual, and drive around a V8 engine. I don't know that opportunity is going to come up again. That's the ways of the world. It's temporary. Enjoy the temporary effects of the world, but don't become them. Be in the world, but not of the world. Be in the mainstream, but not of the mainstream. Be at your job, but not of your job. We spoke about this last week. You're not a landscaper who wants to be an MC. You're an MC who just happens to be landscaping at that moment. You're not a DJ who is a delivery driver. You're not a delivery driver who DJs on the side. You're a DJ with a delivery job momentarily while you get your DJ skills up.
You're in the world, you got to have the job, but you're not of the world because you're a DJ. Your purpose, whatever your purpose is. Those are just examples, MCing and DJing. What is your purpose? What is your purpose in life? Your purpose you might be a cook, and your purpose is to have your own restaurant, but you're cooking at a job that you may not even like the guys you're working with, but you know it's going to get you to where you need to be. That's empowerment right there. Know thyself. What is your focus? Where is your faith? Why are you doing what you do? These lessons are building off of each other. And big up to those who've hit me up. I'm so grateful for everybody who's reached out, the love I've gotten from the messages from the Minista put up. So much love to everyone who's here with me now across time and space. God willing, I know somewhere there's people out there watching, and I'm not even in the body anymore. I'm in the Zin Uru. It's transcended into the spiritual world. I'm not focused in this body like I am right now. This video is going to outlast me. I'm talking to a future that I can't even see, but a part of me can. A part of me can see you. I can actually see you in the future. And Zin Uru doesn't even exist other than in the spirit and on this video, but I'm not living and breathing in this body. My breath is somewhere else. But it's right here, one with your breath. We're breathing the same air. Way in the 100 years from now, those of you watching this 100 years from now, 200 years from now, we're still breathing the same breath. I hope we're worthy ancestors for you. I hope we haven't misled you and misguided you, and if we have, I'm sorry. But just know that there are some of us who are doing our best to build the future, to build Hippopia for our children's children and our children's children forever. Returning back to the ways of God, returning back to God in our nature, God the Creator, God who made this wonderful body that has an incredible immune system, that we get to learn about that. We get to learn how to build up our immune systems. We get to learn how to age properly. We get to learn how to eat and breathe in a new way, which is the old way. Hip-hop is the return of something ancient. We are the ones prophesied to return, as the teacher says. Faith in your purpose. Have faith in you. Have faith in your purpose. Have faith in God. Walk a virtuous life. Walk a life of nobility. Walk a life of righteousness. And God can put more faith in you. You will make mistakes, but a righteous person will make the mistake and learn from the mistake, turn that mistake into wisdom. That's what walking in righteousness is. God may have faith in you just to watch you make a mistake, watch you so-called fail, because God's faith in you is that you're going to learn from that mistake and rise up and overcome and turn that mistake into wisdom. If God has faith in you, shouldn't you have faith in what God has faith in? If God has faith in hip-hop, shouldn't we have faith in what God has faith in? What's your purpose? Where's your faith? Peace and so much love to my nobility. We stand strong together. And there it is. Hip!